See that you're born an Italian if you want your life to be great. See that you're born an Italiano and your life will be great.
How about some Donatelle?
That's a nice.
Hey there, Paisani, and welcome back to another episode of the Italian American Podcast. I'm John Viola, along with my partner in crime, the notorious POB, the Italian American Wikipedia, Mr. Patrick O'Boyle. This is the Italian American Podcast, coming to you from the heart of Little Italy in Manhattan, New York, Mulberry and Grand here at Red Sauce Studio. We are very excited today. We've got a wonderful guest, another one of your discoveries through social media joining us.
I am good.
Yeah, you guys are having a love fest conversation, so we have
Our
to...
best podcasts are never recorded.
Yeah,
because we have a 3-hour conversation, then we go online. That has nothing
we're just
to
like,
say.
please, let's start. But Christina Conte, welcome to the Italian American Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Pat, a little introduction
This
to our
is
guest
so.
today.
So the beauty of this podcast and the fun that we can have. We call ourselves the NPR of Italian America. Is that we have a growing, because of technology, we have a growing listenership, right? Australia, we did. I think we have more listeners in Australia per capita than we do in Canada, which is kind of surprising to me because you think that the similarity between the States and Canada. But we have listeners in Canada. We have listeners. I call it the Anglophonic Italian world. So it's where Italian people wound up in countries that speak English, and that meshing happens, right? And I think that, especially Italian Americans, so a lot of the stuff that we do is like, I was just in Nebraska. I've been to Arkansas, right? John, we did in Arkansas, we did a Greetings from Italian America episode because people don't realize that there's Italians in Nebraska,
Right.
and there's Italians in Iowa, and there's Italians in Arkansas. But people don't realize that there were Italians in Scotland, Italians in England, in Ireland, and they went there for the fish and chips industry, right, and gelato industry, right? So so we have a rock star here today. Part of it is you were born in Scotland.
Correct.
Of Italian parents.
Correct.
Right? So you have that
Like
experience.
St. Patrick.
Like St. Patrick, right? Who came
Seriously,
to
I say that
the savages
every
came in.
St. Patrick's Day. I'm like, I am just like St.
Very
Patrick,
true.
born in the area that was Scotland, but to Roman parents.
Very interesting.
That's profound.
So
is
I'm
very
like St.
interesting,
Patrick.
And then you also you immigrated to the United States. You're in California. And
Now I'm in California.
Now you're in
yeah,
California,
Yeah.
and you're a cooking guru online.
I love to cook, but I'm not trained. I don't claim to have any
Was
kind
your
of...
grandmother trained?
No, and she was the best cook.
Correct. That's all.
Ever.
No French Academy has anything on an Italian
Right.
grandmother.
Yeah.
So we have so much to cover today.
Yeah,
I'm gonna actually not talk because I'll get in trouble.
How did you end up online? What?
On accident. It was literally an accident. I didn't mean to start a website or anything. I used to be a social worker, children's social worker, and I quit to stay home to raise my kids because I was like, okay, I've seen what people can do and do with their kids, so I'll mess up my own kids. Thank you very much.
Fair enough.
So when my son went off to Georgetown, he was 16, and
16? You went to Georgetown.
yeah.
Benedict.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, okay, I need to start working again to bring in some money because, one kid in private school, one kid at Georgetown. And I had breakfast with 2 friends, and I said, I'm looking at jobs for social work. I said, and it was children's social work. And I said, I don't know that I can do it again.
Yeah.
Because, to be honest, the system re-abuses these poor children. And I said, and both of them were like, Christina, you have to do something with your cooking. You have to. And I was like, I can't get hired anywhere because, number one, I'm not trained. Number two, if somebody tells me to put something in something that I know, I can't, I'm like leaving.
It's not happening.
It's not happening. So I'm like, I can't do it. So one of them said, start a blog. And I was like, I don't know anything about blogging. And they said, Google it. But here's the crazy thing. I never thought that you could actually make a living starting a blog. So why did I even Google it?
Great question. Yeah.
I mean, it was just bizarre.
Yeah.
So I went home, I Googled how to start a blog, and it said, what do you want to call it? And I just thought, I'm just going to type this in and see what. And I put in, off the top of my head, Christina's Cucina. And the next thing it said, "Congratulations, your site is live." And I was like, "No, back,
Yeah.
like delete." I just
You can't put the genie back in the bottle sometimes.
no.
Yeah.
And so that's basically how it started, and I learned as I went along. I made tons of mistakes, but then I got lucky in doing some things that just worked. Like, because I was doing, like, a lot of people will start a blog or a food, especially now with AI and everything. Quick way to make a fast buck: share recipes online. So all these recipes go on there, but do they have what I have as far as the motivation and the message and the passion and
the testing, because you blew up. I knew you ahead of time, but during the pandemic, because in this area, I would say from Rhode Island to probably Philadelphia, right?
Okay.
So you have like, this is heavy Campania area.
okay,
So March 19th is the Zaplas, the St. Joseph's Zaplas.
right,
And now people were stuck at home, and now they had to make their own.
right.
And I had people sending me, because they put beautiful pictures online of the Zaplas they made at home.
Okay.
And it was your recipe.
Okay.
But the thing that you said about your recipe, which I thought was so profound about your dedication to this,
What is it?
you said I tested these. You said a lot of people
Oh.
put stuff online because they just want to post.
Absolutely.
But you went and you tested.
Oh no, it's
and
not
that's
testing.
the gold
It's
the gold
it's
standard.
Like a lot of the recipes
You
I've
can bank on your recipes.
made for forever. Like, I've been baking since I was 7 years old.
Wow.
That's how I think why I liked it so much. Besides being Italian and being immersed in the food culture, I baked a cake out of my school book, and I got so much attention from adults
Yeah.
that was like, "You baked that? That's amazing!" Because it turned out really well. So it was like I would bake it again, and that I think that's what makes me love cooking and feeding people, and it's like people love it.
There's no better reaction than somebody enjoying something you cook or bake in
I
whatever
think
the case.
I think that's an Italian thing, though.
I don't know.
Everybody gets appreciative, but Italians
Maybe.
get a high.
Maybe.
It's an Italian grandma
It's on
that
a
gets a
different
high.
level, yeah.
It's like, oh, and I ever see old Italian ladies, they'll say, "Oh, my grandson love."
Yes.
Like,
Oh,
mine is the
absolutely.
best.
Oh,
Yes.
And he came home from school just for my eggplant.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
They love, and there's that
Yes.
jousting,
Yeah.
and oh, you should make it like me because
Yeah.
I think that we snort that.
Yeah,
That's,
it's a drug
yeah.
for us.
Right.
What year did you start the blog?
2011.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
mackerel.
But I literally did not know what I was doing back then.
try it.
And I did everything wrong. And then I joined, my friend said, "Oh, there's this LA food bloggers group." And I went to the first meeting, and, like, they would have meetings where they would have maybe somebody speaking about SEO and stuff that I didn't know about. And I remember this guy was speaking, and he said, I don't know why he even said it, because I think everybody else knew. It's like, if you put an image on your site, you have to tell Google what it is, like Zeppole, di San Giuseppe. You have to call it, that's what the picture is. I was uploading them IMG
Yeah.
265.
Honestly, I didn't even know you had to do. I mean, I'm not a
I
web
know. You learn
person.
something
I didn't
new
realize you had
every
to
day.
tell
But
Google what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So I was like, oh my God, because my site is full of pictures.
Right.
I had hundreds of pictures of that.
But you were
thousands.
getting no search engine
No, I
optimization
was.
out of it.
No, I wasn't for the pictures.
Because right,
they
exactly.
wouldn't come up on, if you Google imaged it, it wouldn't come up.
Oh, that's interesting.
The recipe was coming up because I think people that's how Google works. If something works and people keep going there,
Right.
and then they share it and
Right.
other people link to you, it keeps going higher up on
Right.
on Google. So I was getting it that way because the recipes were solid, but my images were invisible to Google because I didn't tell Google that. So it was like, that's how really, uninformed I was.
That's like when we came onto the podcast, frankly. We had no idea what,
Right.
the
You
download
just
stuff,
learn as
learn
you
to
go.
edit, learn to do this. I mean, there was a Italian-American podcast that Dolores and Anthony started, and it was going through stuff, and we came on, and, they had a bunch of people, but
Will they say one day we were in pioneer days?
what do you mean?
Because we're all at the startup. I mean, is there going to be like a podcast 100 years from now when
I
I'm
don't
in
know.
Camposano?
I
They're
think
going to
that-
say that they were like
Dolores and Anthony were very early, 2015,
were very early.
to
Well, your
start
friend
a
Cena.
podcast.
Cena was
Tried to get me to start a podcast in college 20 years ago, and I was like, podcast? What are you talking? This is ridiculous.
Right.
Why would anybody do this? He brought home a big microphone and stuff. But yeah, you learn, right?
You just and I'm still learning.
Sure, absolutely.
I'm still learning. I just had a big site redesign. Now I have to learn this new system all over again. So it's just, but I love it. So I do it, and I just getting messages from people when they try something is just like you said. It's kind of like a high, like yes.
Yeah,
Because I just feel like I'm fighting against. I mean, I'm going to say it, the garbage. You have to kind of like try to rise above the garbage recipes, because I know people, myself, that will go and find an image of a picture that you can buy, a stock image of, an orange cupcake. And they will put it on their site. They'll literally make up a recipe. Like or take it from somewhere else, stick it up there and say, make this. This is like the best. They've never stepped into a kitchen. They've not bought ingredients. They haven't picked up their camera. Yeah. They're duping people left and right, and that infuriates me. You know why? Because the whole reason I'm doing this is I want people to get into the kitchen and cook, especially for their children. Because there's so much garbage food out there, all the processed stuff, all the horrible chemicals in food. Buy real ingredients and cook real food. Yeah. Right? So these people are setting it up so that if they use their recipe and they fail, which they will, who do they blame? Do they blame the recipe? No.
Blame themselves.
They blame themselves.
Right.
I'm not a good cook.
Right.
I can't cook. I can't bake. I can't this. Well, guess what? If you're running, you're going into a car race, and somebody gives you a car that doesn't work, you're not going to do well.
Right, yeah.
It doesn't mean you're a bad race car driver, but somebody gives you something that's really, it's a totally different story. So that's what people don't understand. And I've written an entire post on getting a good recipe, knowing who you're getting the recipe from, somebody that you trust. And a lot of these big celebrity chefs, it's not their recipe anymore. They're too big to be in the kitchen and cooking. So they've got,
I find their stuff fails the most. Not to drop certain names, but there's certain people that I've had,
even get me
and then you're still
started.
looking at the star ratings and the reviews, and you see very low stars, and people are like, this was a disaster. I mean, there was one celebrity made something, and I tried it, and I said, you know what? They never did this.
Absolutely.
Because it was a complete disaster.
Absolutely.
But the other thing about buying those stock photos
But you know that.
I knew. But when you buy the stock photos and your thing doesn't look the same,
correct,
you're going crazy trying to figure out why did this recipe, even though it tastes good, now look that way, and it throws off your technique, because if they have something that's thin, because it looked good, but it's supposed to be in a bigger pie plate, you're going to change it to make the picture.
This is the problem, but you know that. Think about people that don't know that, right?
Yeah, correct.
And they're like, I'm a failure, I didn't do it right. I could open up my computer and show you. There's a website that, like, you upload your images that belong to you, right? So I've put my zeppole, my donuts, my everything that my top popular recipes, my beans on toast. I put them on there, and they will search the internet for that image. And you would not believe how many caterers, restaurants, businesses are using my image, my arancini, saying they're cheese balls. They're not even, and so people, like, this is the thing. You look at a restaurant menu when you're online before you go there, and you look at all these images, you think when you go to that restaurant, that's what you're going to get.
Sure.
But it's made by a home cook in California.
Yeah. I'm big on that because
it's ridiculous. It's horrible.
They stole your work product.
Sure.
You're killing yourself. Professional
that's the
pictures
thing.
being made, and
I've done the work. So this company, Pixie, I will give them a plug because I love what they do. They will go after these companies and say, hey, that's copyright infringement. Pay up. So, at least there's some kind of, that I have something that I can do, that when I get a payment from that company, I don't care how much it is.
Yeah.
It's the principle.
It's recompense. It's principle.
Somebody stole from me.
But it also is like, I encounter this a lot because I'm constantly, digging through the internet looking for Italian American, we call them heirloom businesses, 50 plus year restaurants that survive, or pastry shops or whatever it is, bread bakeries. And a lot of times through no fault of their own, some of these places are just like, they're not going to photograph stuff, whatever it is.
Right.
They'll take stock photos out. And I find that the best sort of way to gather real information and get a sense of what this place is actually going to be like is through user photos or people on Instagram.
Right.
I like
Yelp reviews.
Yeah, like a place may present a lasagna stock photo, and then I'll be digging through, and I'll see somebody who posted the actual lasagna, and it's in like a one of those metal serving dishes from the old days. Like, that's how I know a place is authentic, because so much of this is sort of about authenticity.
Yeah.
And that gets lost on the internet, and particularly in food. It's very, very hard because there's a cacophony of competing voices telling you how to make this. Like, I like to reverse engineer recipes, especially family recipes that I didn't learn. And it takes sometimes months to go through dozens of recipes with comparing and contrasting. And, one person guarantees you it's this ingredient. Remember when we tried to reverse?
You don't need to. He makes a timbalo.
Okay.
I made that up myself.
He made it
that
up
was
himself.
In my head.
Quail eggs. Wow. It's the bomb.
Dad's favorite food.
Wow.
It's like gout on a plate.
It's like gout.
It's like,
what did you put it? It's like a bourbon recipe from the Kingdom of Two Sicily, from the leopard.
Did you ever read The Leopard?
No.
It's my favorite book.
Really?
Oh, it's absolutely my favorite book. I call it the Sicilian Gone with the Wind. It's like Southern Italy's Gone with the Wind.
Okay.
So it's set in 1860.
Yeah, at the end of the Two Sicilies. And there's a scene where they have a ball, and the big moment food-wise is the arrival of this massive timbalo.
Okay.
And it's not like a timbalo today where it's, like a thin layer, or maybe they make today with like eggplant timbalo. This is like akin to like a British pie, right? Like a pork pie, that thick, what
crust.
do you call that? Crust, yeah. What did they call that? Not short crust. It's, anyway.
The Italian pasta frolla?
It's like a pasta frolla, but it's got cinnamon in it and stuff. So it's like a sweet crust. And as they describe it in the book, there's only a few kind of clues to what's in it. And they talk about the chicken and this and that, a couple of ingredients, and the smells. So I kind of tried to recreate it from that. And I don't know
You almost got divorced.
I almost got divorced because I had some like liver and truffles. The house smelled wacky.
It was so good.
But he went crazy.
So,
and it was this thick. And, it was. I'm going to send Nikki pictures.
His
we can put the
pastita
pictures.
is a cinnamon bomb.
I like cinnamon.
He loves cinnamon.
I like cinnamon.
It's like cinnamon on steroids.
Yeah,
he puts cinnamon in his coffee. No, it's delicious.
Anything
you made, I never complained. I ate it all. The stuff your wife won't eat, I'll eat.
That's true.
I might bring the dog in, me and Rocco, your dog Rocco. Bring the two of them in, they'll clear it out.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no, but I like that.
You know the other thing too is, I hate professional recipes that cut corners.
Happens a lot.
Because either you're going to do it right or not do it at all, right? So this is the Italian. Most Italian food is very simple, especially Southern food, right? But sometimes it might get a little complicated. And now, for instance, this is the woman that brought me salvation in the Anchor's Room mixer.
You got one.
Yes. I taught the person because I preach it like a gospel. Because it's so easy to make bread now.
Well, it doesn't walk across your counter.
Doesn't walk like that other machine.
Yeah.
The other one. And so sometimes new technology.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, I put the sourdough starter, the Italian one, I put it in the Vitamix.
Okay.
Just a minute. Too much. I've cooked it at the time.
Oh,
but you think about when they used to make bread in Amati, they had to break it up like all that dough and stuff like this. So I found between the Vitamix, putting the Anchor's Room, bread is quick now.
Okay.
You can make bread quickly, right? So I'm all for like when technology helps.
Right.
But some steps you can't cut out.
Right.
Something, and I find like a lot of these chefs like 5-minute like pastita. You can't make a pastita in 5 minutes. Just don't do it because you're gonna have a disaster.
Yeah, exactly.
Your kids aren't gonna like it.
Yeah.
Don't eat it. Get it from somewhere. There's certain things.
Or 5-minute pizza dough.
5-minute pizza. It's not gonna work.
It's like hello, and a lot of times it's like you look at the Google search results and the carousel of 1, 2, and 3, and I think a lot of times too the time that it takes. People are looking at that like, everybody in America, we got to rush, we got to get it quick. And it'll be like pizza dough, and it's ready in 30 minutes. And I'm like, that is impossible.
Yeah.
You're not going to get something that's actually a risen dough in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It's impossible. But people don't know that. They might pick that one and then go, again, they never blame the recipe.
Yeah.
Never. It's always them, which I want people to understand, get a good recipe. How do you know it's a good recipe? Number one, does this person have the authority to be giving you this recipe? Where did they get it?
Yeah.
What's their background? So many people say, I grew up with my mother making reservations for dinner. So
Especially
they
nowadays.
didn't get it. And I'm not saying
Yeah,
that
no.
people whose mothers didn't cook growing up can't cook as an adult. But if they started cooking last year and they're telling you, they've giving you these recipes, that's your first red flag.
Yeah.
If they went to cooking school, they learned, they've been doing this for a while, that's different. But I'm like, I went after somebody that posted a recipe for an Italian, it was Italian hot chocolate, the thick Italian hot chocolate. And I just went, it was my recipe. And
They stole your recipe?
well, everybody steals. Oh, everybody.
And you can't really stop. I mean, there's no way to.
You can't. They know.
Yeah.
You can't. All you have to do is, I mean, I've had people, and I just went after somebody yesterday that literally copied my entire shortbread post, like verbatim,
Yeah.
copy and paste, saying like exactly what I said, even about Scotch whiskey versus Irish whiskey. By the way, Scotch whiskey always is spelled without the E. They added that in.
I never knew that.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
You should know that.
Yeah, that's good. That's what I love. Because we learn so much
Yeah.
from people. But see, now we got to
Irish
come out.
whiskeys with E.
And the
Scotch whiskey,
is with the Y.
that's how
is the
you
Y.
know it's Scotch, because it doesn't have the E. It's
But
W-H-I-S.
this is the other thing we have to discuss today. We got so much on the... Because how does a nice Italian girl make recipes for shortbread and for beans on
Yeah,
toast?
that's what I was going to say. We're talking about search engine, like what Google picks first. You were showing us when you got here. So I'm an Anglophile. Like I lived in the UK as a kid for
Okay.
about a year, and I always felt if I wasn't going to be Italian, I'd fit in being
You
a
could
Brit.
be
Yeah.
Scottish.
Yeah, I
Italian,
could go
and
over there,
That's
yeah.
that's the best combination.
Yeah, and I
You
like
putting Irish people in concentration camps.
Sorry, I mean,
That's what I
I'm
meant.
be a nice one, but
Yeah.
Kill the rabbit, kill the rabbit.
but I
It's
love
Wabbit.
Yeah,
Wabbit.
I love British cuisine.
I get scared in
Oh,
England.
good for you.
Love it.
Good
Absolutely
for you.
adore it. And
That's the other message I'm giving, that British cuisine is not. Most people that say that it's no good have never been to
I've never
Britain.
really had it. Yeah, that's fair. But I, when you came in and said your recipe for beans on toast was #1 on Google, for those who've not had it, beans on toast
Recipe.
is beans on toast, right? How do you differentiate? Only an Italian can improve
so
on
here's-
beans on
So
toast.
just
right?
tell everybody first, because they're gonna be confused. You're Scott.
it.
How does? So you
Fair
have
enough.
My dad's grandfather went to Scotland in the 1800s.
Wow.
Okay. He went back to Italy. So my grandfather was born, my paternal grandfather was born in Italy. And then he went back to Scotland and he had the fish and chip shop. And then my dad and we're very, very complicated.
See,
Like,
a lot of our listeners, just so they get a picture of this, the area that's now southern Lazio, which Mussolini stole from Campania, which is really Campania.
Yeah, 'cause
The
we're
area-
right on the
Yeah, because
border.
you're the same,
Yeah.
right? That was in the two systems. The area around Frosinone is sort of that area.
Right.
A lot of people went to
Scotland
the British
and
Isles. They
England.
went to
Yep.
Ireland and Scotland,
Yeah.
and they went in the fish and chips business
Or
and the
gelato.
gelato business. Like that's what they
Correct.
were famous for.
Yep.
And there's such a strong connection because we had someone come on air talk about Italian communities around the world, right? So what's the challenge Australia has? You're 24 hours from Italy. That's such a
Right.
long flight.
Right.
But the strength of the Italians in Ireland and Scotland and England was it was easy now with airplanes.
Right.
It's like us going to Florida from New Jersey.
Exactly.
In 2 hours, you're in Italy.
Yep.
So there's very strong. Someone said to us, every other Italian community, like Italo-Canadians, Italo-Australians, Italo-Americans, there's a separation from Italy. But they said that they found that the Italians in the British Isles were
Very-
really Italian.
very,
Because they
yeah.
could go back and forth a lot. So
Correct.
there could be 3 or 4 generations.
Yeah.
So just tell us a little bit before we go into the beans and toast, like the towns where your parents were from, the connection. Like you were just starting to go into.
Okay.
You walk into the bar and there's people speaking with a Glasgow.
So my paternal family is very close to my maternal family. Atina is where my maternal grandmother was born, and there's do you know where Monte Cassino is?
Sure.
So Monte Cassino is on the mountain, and then you look across and there's Monte Trocchio. At the bottom of Monte Trocchio, at the very bottom, my dad's father was born there. Around the corner is where my mother's village is, where she was born. It's so small that her birth is registered in Trevorrow, which is across the valley on another mountain. So it's 4 miles, 5 miles? I don't know how far it is. Anyway, they're all from the same area. And like I said, went to Scotland. Dad had a fish and chip shop. His brother, who's really his cousin, who married to it's so complicated. My grandparents, my mother's parents, had 7 daughters. My mother is the 7th, the youngest of the 7 daughters. Her older sister, one of the older sisters, married my dad's cousin, but it was really like his stepbrother, because somebody died. They married their sister.
Married their in-law, right?
Yeah,
It's not
that's
abnormal.
What they
Well,
did.
you know, we just to
very-
clarify, because a lot of our listeners, that was very common.
That's
People
like
get
the thing
freaked
to
out
do.
because what
Yeah.
happened is,
But it's not blood relation.
No,
I mean, in the sense
you
that
marry your in-law.
Well,
It's like Henry VIII.
yeah, I knew 2 Italian American guys who were born about 1912 in New Jersey. So I was the annoying kid that asked a million questions while this kid just shut up.
Didn't Biden's son marry his sister-in-law?
Yeah, but that was a.
There was an affair or something.
Yeah, it was-
Oh,
I mean, that was-
But it's not like it's not.
With-
You know, it's not a blood relation. It's,
Exactly. As long
Yeah.
as it's not a blood
But the
relation.
Italians did this
that's-
for
yeah.
these guys told me did it for a reason. So his father died,
Right.
and his uncle was widowed. So his
Right.
father's brother was widowed.
Right.
And his mother and his uncle married. So his sister-in-law
To
married
take
a-
care of the family.
Right, and
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
kid said, like, he didn't have kids, but his nephew said, that's so disgusting. Why did they do things?
That's
And he
not.
said, my mother, the only man my mother trusted
Right.
with her kids
Yeah.
was her husband's brother.
Right.
Yeah.
Because she said that he will never abuse them or be mean to them.
yeah.
And I know another guy in North Arlington, Richie Bonanno. His father died. His father and his father's best friend worked in a paint factory.
Okay.
His father fell in the vat of paint. And
Oh
drowned.
my gosh.
Oh my God.
And at the same time, I don't know if it was the Spanish influenza or whatever, his father's best friend's wife died.
Okay.
So his mother, they were gumbada
Right.
gumbada.
Right.
His mother married his father's best
Right.
friend, and the same thing. He goes, I had 2 dads. He loved that man. He said because
Right.
they treated each other's kids like it was their
Yeah.
own. So a lot of times people get freaked out by that, but the Italian base is always the family. So even the second marriage was for the benefit of the kids. That's why brothers
right.
and sisters-in-law married.
The concept of romantic marriage is so modern and you know outside the realm of reality when marriage is about really your socioeconomic condition, right? That's what marriage was. It was an alliance or a
Well, that's why
partnership,
that-
right? That's why I mean, like,
that
yeah, they may
happened,
have all
yeah.
loved each other, but like when the time comes and you're faced down with being a widow or a widower,
Right.
You have to double down on the security of the family. It
Right.
just makes sense. And plus, you're talking about, like you say, places that are a couple hundred people, so the pool is also.
but that's good though. But it kept
smaller.
your family united.
Right.
Well, so my cousin, who was one of the cousins that just came to visit, Peter, he is more like a brother because our cousins, our relatives are the same on each side. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
yeah,
of
yeah.
course.
Like a sibling,
Yeah.
everybody's the same. So with him, he's got the same relatives on each side
Yeah.
because it's the same family.
Right, because sisters married.
But to me, that's
cousins.
like
On my
normal.
father's side, my father's parents are second cousins, so I get that.
Yeah.
So there's not this side and that
Yeah.
side.
Right.
It's one, but it
Right.
makes Christmas cards much easier because it's all. You know what I'm trying to
Never
say?
thought
It's like
about that.
everybody's.
yeah, you shorten the list.
Yeah.
So as long as you don't do that too many generations, then you got problems.
That's
So,
very
like
true.
one time, once, twice.
Yeah, this is not abnormal.
Yeah.
But so your family is closely interrelated from a small portion of Lazio Shoshara, that what used to be
Right,
Campania.
right.
Now in Scotland, by the time you come along,
Well-
in what part of Scotland?
Glasgow.
Is that where
Um,
the Italian communities normally settled?
Well,
or-
Edinburgh's got a very big Italian
does.
community also. But I have, so my mom's sisters, because they were so poor, the only 2 were left in Italy, and they both died just recently, like
Sorry.
last year, earlier in the year. So those 2 were left in Italy. One sister went to Scotland. No, 2 actually. My mom and my Aunt Virginia. And then 2 went to England. and then one went to Toronto. So we've got family like all over. And then one of my cousins is in Belgium. We've got my mom's cousins went to Australia, so they're south of Sydney. So, I mean, we're just all over the place. But as far as in America, my immediate family is the only family that we have here.
How did you end up in America?
Because, again, very complicated. My dad's half-brother, his mother, had come to America because there was like stuff going on that it was frowned upon back then.
Yeah.
So she came over here and had another son with this other guy. So she stayed in America. And the son, so my dad's half-brother, who lived in Detroit, came to visit with his family when we were in Scotland. And he tasted my mom's cooking and went nuts. It was like, oh my God, you could make a fortune if you moved to America. So he offered my dad to come to America to check it out. He says, I'll pay for your fare. If you decide to come, you can pay me back. If you don't like it, it's on me. So my dad, 39 years old, with fish and chip shop, working his ass off, as you can imagine. Excuse me. Said, yeah, let me try it. So he came over to Detroit. They went to Florida, went to some really high-end Italian restaurant that my dad was like, oh my God, this is horrible. But what they were charging, basically his half-brother proved to him his point.
Yeah.
Like, you could blow these people out of the water. It didn't work out, so my mom and dad had picked up their family, young family, 4, 5, and 9. I was 9. And couldn't just go back. They'd sold the house, they'd sold everything, so they had to basically make a go of it. And we were, I mean, so poor. Like, my dad was 40, trying to start over with nothing, couldn't open a fish and chip shop, and do what he did. So basically we ended up in Michigan and didn't get to go back to visit Scotland or Italy for over 10 years.
Wow.
Which was really, really hard, especially with not having any family except family in Toronto. That's who we did see. And my grandparents came over to visit a few times. But yeah, that's why we ended up over here.
In Michigan.
In Michigan. And then I can't stand cold weather. If it's below 70, I'm dying. So
you were made for LA.
Yeah, I was like, I looked at all the warm states, and
Yeah.
I was like, nope, can't go there, can't go there, can't go there. And I for some reason, I just thought, California, like, I don't think that's for me. And my degree was in psychology, and I wanted to get my master's in psychology. And of course, when I looked there, there's every program you could think of under the sun. And I went, to go see what it was like. And I was like, oh my God, this looks like Italy. Oh my God, this is just like Italy.
Yeah.
The beach looked like Italy. The mountains looked like Italy. The oleander down the middle of the freeways was just like the autostrada.
Yeah.
And I had friends that they were like, if you say that one more time, we're going to kill you.
But
we get it.
True.
It looks like Italy.
Yeah.
So I was like, it's Italy without the Italians. So
Which would be a very functionally, probably lovely.
I don't want to go down that road.
No, I experienced the same thing because I come from Brooklyn, and I have a grandfather who was a Dodger fan and stopped watching baseball when the Dodgers left in 1957. So for us, LA was this like horrible villain, this this idyllic place that stole our Dodgers. And, as New York was going down, California was going up, and so I had this natural hatred for Los Angeles. I never had been there.
Right.
And we went the first time, I think I was like 15 or 16. My family went to the West Coast for the first time. And begrudgingly, I fell in love with the place because it's beautiful and the weather is always beautiful.
Right.
And, I lived there for a while eventually. And I remember moving there in January. And it was a cold snap for LA. Mm-hmm. And people were out in like parkas and like gear as if they were climbing Everest. And I was like, what is wrong? And the newscasters were all like, it's 50 today, screaming into the camera. I'm like, this is nothing. It's like summer. We're fine. But it is a place for that kind of idyllic weather. Everything.
you can't get better weather. I've not been anywhere with it. This year is the most humid that I've ever felt it.
Yeah.
And it's nothing compared to, because I lived in Michigan. I know what humidity is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very light humidity, but it's still humid.
Sure.
And I'm like, what is going on? We're getting humid. And Dad keeps going, there's no cloud in the sky. It's like it shouldn't be humid. And
Does your father have moments when he has a heavy Scottish accent?
Every single
and
moment.
he's Italian, and people just can't make sense of it. Like they see
no,
his name.
they get the blank stare when he talks sometimes, and I have to translate. I just know that. I just know that stare, like,
But do they have the throw off of?
Can you do it? Can you do a Scottish brogue?
You go to Glasgow.
Can you go Glaswegian? What is it?
Glaswegian?
Glaswegian?
Like, it depends on.
Can you tell
Going
us?
no day that.
Do you ever switch back?
You don't even know what that means.
There's something about
Don't
doing
do that.
Don't do that.
So that's why my cousin Gianfranco, because in Latina, or Villa Latina, and I was telling you this little village where everybody's like British, but they're Italian.
Yeah, so just so people know that Casalatico. There's a lot of people from Casalatico that went to Ireland. So you have all these people who are mentally Italian,
right?
Look Italian, eat Italian, but speak
have
English with a very strong accent from one of the British Isles, and they go to Italy. But you have, like you were saying, like they go back in the bar.
So my cousin Gianfranco, who's total Italian, doesn't speak any English really, and I taught him how to say "Goni no de that," which is very, very Glaswegian for gonna not do that. Like, just stop. It's from a TV show, and all these people would have known that.
Yeah.
And then the response to that, because it's like a show where some guy does something to irritate the other one, and he just looks at him and he goes, "Goni no de that," and he goes, "How?" In Glasgow, you say "how" instead of "why." So,
huh?
Yeah.
You say "how" instead of "why"?
How.
That's
you say
very
"how."
confusing.
Yeah.
What do you say when you intend to say
"why"?
How?
How? You still say "how."
Oh, it's very confusing.
Does the accent kick in if you're in Scotland?
Yeah, a tiny bit. But I was forced to speak with an American accent because I was teased so badly when I came over.
Oh, I can imagine.
That they were brutal.
Yeah.
So I'd go to school and I'd try to speak with an American accent. Then I'd go home and I could relax and be myself. But the problem was when friends would come over.
Yeah.
And it was like,
What did you speak to your mother in, since she was born in Italy? Did you speak to her?
English.
So you spoke to your mother in English?
When I started school in Scotland, I only spoke Italian because I was home with Mom all the time. She didn't speak English. So I didn't speak English when I went to school in Scotland. But I didn't speak proper Italian because it was dialect. So then I learned...
A regional language. A regional language. Because Rye should be a Neapolitan. There's a just world, Rye would be a Neapolitan.
But that's like my grandfather. My grandfather was born here in a very Sicilian neighborhood in Brooklyn.
Okay, yeah.
Didn't speak English till he was like 9. I mean, but at that point, they barely went to school. See, my grandfather was 88 years old.
Right.
So, he was going to school, and they just put him and his brother in the back of the room and, like, ignored them until he finally, I think, 8 or 9 years old.
Wow.
They came home and said, like, Mom, we have to learn English.
Yeah.
And that's when my great-grandmother started to allow them to kind of speak.
Yeah.
Because the whole neighborhood spoke Sicilian.
Right,
They didn't need to speak English.
Did you go to school with Italian kids because you all lived together? So you were with real Scots?
I remember, I was just thinking about this the other day. I used to hate my last name when I was in Scotland. I was like, Conte, it's so different than everybody else. There was one kid in my class, Giovanni Ercolino. I still remember his name. That was the only Italian in the class, and he couldn't speak English because they had just come over from Italy. But other than him, everybody else had very white, Smith.
Did you go to Did you go to Catholic school?
Catholic school.
So you would have had Irish kids who were multi-generational Scottish.
Yeah,
they would have come over during the famine and stuff like that.
My cousin Peter's wife is an O'Reilly.
Right.
So we went to school together, and now she married my cousin. But
because we were having that conversation beforehand, because Kearney, New Jersey, the town next to me, had all these people that came from Scotland in the 20s to New Jersey. But you had a lot of people. You had Northern Irish. You had Scottish Presbyterians, who are genetically Scottish people. And then you had the Irish who went to Scotland during the famine in the 1840s. And they were there for, let's say, 120 years, and then picked up and came to America. So they were kind of Scottish, kind of Irish. They were Catholic. They were a hodgepodge. That's what I'm saying. Like the world is so complicated. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you're in Scotland.
Yeah,
as
my
an Italian
family
kid
is
with
more complicated. I mean, to try to explain, it would take.
What are your Scottish comfort foods? Like, what are the stuff that like
Scotch pie, fish and chips. I mean, brighties, sausage rolls.
You still make Scottish food?
breakfast, black pudding.
I love black pudding.
Black pudding I like.
You can't go wrong with black
Love.
Black
It's
pudding
one.
I like.
If you ask me my top 5 foods, guaranteed I'd have black pudding in there. I don't know about what else I'd put in there because it would be really hard.
Is Scottish
Dry
black
cured
pudding?
Italian sausages would be in there too.
Does Scottish black pudding have oatmeal in it? Like the Irish one, I like the one
Like
with the oatmeal.
barley
Yeah,
or
it's all kinda-
yeah. It's got that little bit of texture in it. You know, I always when I tell people, I don't blame anybody for not wanting to try it. If you've grown up here, I get it. That just is
Because the concept of blood.
the
Black pudding in
concept.
Scotland has blood, like our
That's like-
sanguinage.
well, sanguinage
Right.
is we like
You know-
to make people eat sanguinage because they don't know.
Yeah.
Because it's like a really like
You don't tell them.
Why?
No. Well, I did it by
Because,
accident once. I
it's
bought.
chocolate pudding. How are you going to know the difference?
That's right.
And
Have
then you
seen
tell them.
Benvenuti al Sud?
Yes, she's there. See, in New Jersey, you can get pig blood by the gallon
Are you serious?
because all the Spanish.
See, I don't know if I could make it.
Oh, he
Ah,
makes
it's
it.
fine. You don't even
Yeah,
know.
he
You're
makes
used
it.
to because see,
That's the next blog post. You and
all-
him
all
making
the
sanguinage
Hispanic
together.
butchers
He makes the best
make
sanguinage.
morcilla. They make black pudding like the Irish
Right,
and Scottish
right.
do. So they buy that stuff. So there's a federal in New Jersey. There is a facility. That for the federal government, they come in and test it. It's not
Right,
like,
right.
and you get the stamp on it. You could buy it. It's
Right.
like $20 a gallon. Then we make sanguinage. But I think that people getting more.
Familiar and
I
comfortable.
mean, there'll be people who try it, and they're like, "There's a little funky taste."
Do you want to hear something? I've never tried Italian black pudding sanguinage.
This is a
It's
date
good.
you guys have to have.
I've
Next
never
time,
tried it.
we need a kitchen here.
Yeah, we
Can't
do.
we get like a hot
We
stove
have a hot.
thing?
We have a hot stove.
We have a hot plate.
Yeah, but you can make
That
it
stove
tomorrow.
doesn't work?
No, that stove doesn't work. The
Okay.
stove. Nikki's gonna have to put a picture. We have this 1800s. I think it's like 1930 stove. That's decor. I pulled it out of my
Yeah,
house.
I saw it. It's
when I
beautiful.
renovated the house. But we have an actual hot plate in the back
Okay.
stove. You can cook.
I don't know how I make it in gallon. I make it big.
Right,
Like,
right.
I'll go out.
He makes the best.
Well, my mom said that Nonna used to make the most amazing blood pudding. I mean,
Yeah.
she said that she still remembers it to this day, but I wasn't.
They were made to be
I
together.
was-
Chocolate and pig's blood.
Delicious.
Like once you taste them together, you know
So
they
you
were
put
always.
chocolate in yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I
would taste it. I mean, I
should.
love
You know
black
where it
pudding.
comes
Honestly,
from?
you guys should make it together. You
I-
really would be an amazing blog post for both
We should
you
do
and the show,
sanguinage-
and it's so good. It's
You know-
I would probably like it.
The reason the Italians make chocolate with pig's
Yeah,
blood.
why?
Because the south of Italy, like everything from you guys, because you were like the north of Italy for the two Sicilies,
right.
From you guys all the way down, was controlled by Spain for 400 years.
Okay.
That's why we use words in, I'll say dialect. Matita, we say lapis, we use Spanish words.
Right,
Well, that
right.
stuff that came in. So chocolate enters continental Europe through Maldica and Sicily.
Right.
Because the Spanish, we were all one big happy family. We were part of the Spanish Empire. So when the conquistadores got to Mexico, when the Mexicans would do human sacrifice, they would mix human blood with hot chili peppers.
Okay, now you're turning
Cocoa.
me off of.
yeah.
No, but the pig is going to save the day. So the Spanish are skeeved out. They're like they're drinking like this pig. So
Ski pizza.
so what they did was when they went back, they just took out the human blood and they mixed in pig's
Pig.
blood. Because Italians are good like that. We can improvise. Oh, you keep the human blood, and that's why. Because if you talk to like your mother, like the people who used to kill a pig in Italy. Some people are going to tune out, but what do I care right now?
what are you
When
gonna
the blood came out of the pig, you got to keep it turning so it
So it
doesn't
didn't
congeal.
congeal.
And they kept it turning. They threw the
Right.
chocolate in.
Yeah.
And that's why we have sanguinage.
Wow.
It's I did. We had my daughter's birthday.
You did not have that for your daughter's birthday.
No, it wasn't
Oh,
my
that would
daughter's
be the
birthday.
best
It was an
thing.
Easter. No, it was
For
an
a
Easter
bunch of
gathering.
kids, second graders.
We
Come
had
here.
my wife started a tradition of an Easter egg hunt, and it's grown. My daughter's going to be 3 this year, but over the past 2 years, when more and more people come. So last year, I had gone to Arthur Avenue. Marone pastry shop makes sanguinacci, like mini pies.
Okay.
And I buy them whenever they're in season because they only make them seasonally. So I bought them, and I bought a bunch, and I put them in we have a fridge in the pantry, right? That's like our storage refrigerator. And I guess my wife and my mom, whoever was like taking stuff out,
Oh, my
and
God.
so those just went with all the stuff. So people are like, "This chocolate pie is delicious," and they're all like, "Who's eating them?" Like they're all gone.
I never heard this
Yeah,
story.
I didn't tell you this.
No.
Yeah, it was like I remember walking out. I'm like, chocolate pie.
Nicole's friends were eating this?
My
Chocolate
brother-in-law, Alma, everybody was eating it. And
Did you
thank
tell
God
the
nobody
truth?
had like any religious diet. I would have felt horrible because
But that was an accident,
It was an
though.
accident. It was a total
Yeah,
accident.
yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
put it on purpose. I told a few people, I'm like, you're eating sanguinacci. It's like big, and they, some of them reacted as if they had,
No big deal.
no big deal. It's just good. Some were converted. Some were totally apoplectic. But it was, everybody ate them, and they're good. They're delicious. They, it's a great. I love it. I love that stuff.
So you have Scottish recipes.
Oh,
also on
yeah.
your blog.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Because you're famous. You're the
Well, my
beans on
logo,
toast.
I have a thistle because I figured the Cucina speaks for itself. It's Italian. But I'm like, I've got to have a Scottish something. So my daughter actually drew the little thistle that's at the
awesome.
side of my logo. And the reason you probably wonder why there's an H in Christina is because when I was born, my mother was 17, my dad was 29. He grew up in Scotland. They decided on the name Christina. My dad went to register my birth, and he didn't know.
Sure.
He spelled it with the H.
Yeah.
So when my mother realized that that's how it was spelled, she apparently had a cow because it was like, that's not how you spell con la H. It's like Christina's Christina in Italy. So the thing is, it sounds the same.
Yeah.
It's only on paper. But I have had people attack me when I've said something online about something that's authentically Italian, and they say, "What do you know?"
Your name has
Do you
an
get it
H
from
in
the
it.
people from Italy?
Yeah.
We hate them. They are.
They're like, "What do you know? You've got an H in
They
your
are the
name."
nastiest. They
I'm like,
attack us every
you don't
chance.
know
The
anything
online,
about
the
my-
online critics are bad.
Yeah.
Join
So-
the family. We want to form the people from Italy. They come like bulldogs.
They could have been. I could have been
correct.
somebody from here.
They
Doesn't
don't care.
matter.
Doesn't matter.
But the point is, they don't know my background
Correct.
at all. I mean, it's like when I'm in Italy, probably the same as you. They see the way you dress, the way you act. They assume you're American or you're British or
They
whatever.
make mistakes. You know what gets me? I wish I had the time in life. What was the Red Baron? Like Snoopy? With a machine, like a literary machine. Because one of them, to make a long story short, was that I got in an argument with. Petola.
Okay.
Say Zeppola, like Italy, every town the word changes.
Right.
So Zeppola is in Naples, in the
Okay.
area, like the area around
Yeah,
Naples.
yeah.
Zeppola is just like a fried dough, right? And then it kind of takes all different names. But if you go into Puglia, so the same, like what you make for Christmas Eve, the flour, water, yeast, drop,
Correct.
fried fritter in Naples is Zeppola. And some towns it's a different word. Zeppola
Right.
to this, Zeppola to that. But in Puglia, they call it petola,
Okay.
like from the word for the Southern Italian word for dough.
Yeah.
Right? You say tomato, you say tomato. So we had this
Right.
guy from Puglia, like a machine gunner, right? Attacked, went after row like a bloodhound, right? And he's saying Zeppola is only the St. Joseph Zeppola, the Zeppola di San Giuseppe.
Oh, right.
But that
So
is if
him.
you're in Puglia. If you're in
Exactly.
Puglia, and he started attacking us. So I have an arsenal of Neapolitan cookbooks. I got like the Library of Congress. And because I'm a psychopath myself, I start opening them and photographing
And
all the words
yeah,
of the Zeppola. I'm like,
yeah.
no,
Right.
we're not stupid and ignorant because we're American.
Right.
You've never left
Correct.
Puglia, and you don't
Right.
understand that in Campania, the word changes. And then you just shut up. But how much of your life can you give to these people? Because they
Well-
come out. We did one. You know what changed my life? I made one. I quoted in Italian. I'm going to say this again because I need therapy for this. We filmed one time. I quoted a quote that was in the news from an Italian politician.
Okay.
So he said he didn't want to see Italy turn into a country of restaurateurs and innkeepers, meaning losing industry.
Right.
I didn't say that.
Right.
He said it.
Right.
But in the editing, they cut that out.
Oh.
And 8 million Italians
Right.
attacked my looks, my brand. They went after me.
Right,
Like,
right.
They came out of the head. I was like, only one guy said, you took that quote from an Italian politician. I responded. I said, you are correct. That got out in the editing. I did not say that.
Right.
But they said the most
I
the
know.
worst American
Yeah.
on the worst day
Would
will
not-
be a million times
yeah.
kinder.
Yeah.
But I find a lot of them are from the north of Italy. I think a lot of them have a southern Italian
Well,
bias.
what's funny is she's now one of my best followers, loyal. She's been following me for years. She lives Windsor, Ontario.
Ontario, yeah.
She's probably gonna listen to this, so she'll know who it is. Early on, like years ago, I have my recipe, my family's recipe for minestra. Okay, now for us, it's cabbage and chard and codichino, beans, and then we eat it with bread and onion, right? that's minestra. Now, minestra, same thing, means different things in different parts of
Sure, it's
Italy.
a pretty catch-all word, really.
Right. Okay. So to us, that's what we called minestra. That's
Right.
what Nonna Chiarina called it. That's what I know minestra as.
Right.
So that's what I don't know what else to call it. So I put the recipe for minestra. This woman comes out of the woodwork and attacks not only the recipe, but me, saying, what do you know? Sharing this recipe. You don't know anything about Italian food. I was born in Italy. That is not minestra. Da, 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 and went on. And I mean, I honestly, it's like a gut punch.
They always go after you personally.
Well, that was
That's
the
what
thing.
really hurts. Like they just
Now
yeah,
I'm
correct.
because I've been doing it for so long. I'm like, meh.
You get thick-skinned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it was honestly like a gut punch.
Sure.
And I was like, how dare you? So what I have to do now, you combine being Scottish and Italian together. It's like I'm a freaking volcano. Like
Yeah.
I can't respond to people right away because I will
yeah,
say
I do the same
things
That's
thing.
smart.
And you think
that I
afterwards,
will
yeah,
regret,
correct.
and then it's better that they don't read it. So I sleep on it. The next day I'm much more calm, and I go and I write something very well thought. I don't attack them, but I do defend myself and say, this is why you are wrong, and I give all the reasons. She apologized so profusely, felt so horrible about what she said. She said, I had no idea, I didn't know, da 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 da. Because I basically told her that this is what my nonna, I
Yeah.
said, I grew up with this, my entire family, all my mother's 6 sisters, my cousins, everybody. If you say minestra, this is what you're going to get in front of you. So you're going from, I think she's from the Pisa area, you're
Of course,
going from
yeah,
what
yeah.
you know there. You don't know what's going on in southern Italy, so you don't have the right to attack me or my recipe because you think that you were born in Italy. That makes you.
But
And
I got
this
and
is
now
universal.
she's like she follows me. She actually invited me when she knew I was going to Michigan to see my parents. She's like, when you go through Windsor, please come visit me. She's super,
But see,
super
we
sweet.
get beat up too. I got in trouble with this with our Northern Italian listeners. And Patty, you know who you are. But I say is that I have found, and this is a fact. This is not emotion. This is a fact. When the machine guns come out to criticize us and say terrible things, 9 times out of 10, the criticism is from someone in the north of Italy who doesn't
But
like
there's
Southern
that-
Italians in
that's what I was
general.
just
So they
gonna
don't
say.
they don't
There's
like
that
our
north-south
people, the
thing,
South.
exactly.
And I
Right.
This
you
is
know, it's the
indicative of
truth.
a bigger problem, and it's actually a great point that we kind of conclude on, which is, this is the world today, right? I was saying to myself this morning, I never read this stuff. I've never read it, comments or criticism, and if I did it, usually let it roll off my shoulders until now we're on camera and people talk about my this doesn't match my that, and why do you dress like this, and
Right.
I
your
got,
mustache.
why don't you
And-
comb your hair?
Yeah,
I'll comb my
and-
hair all day.
This is my hair.
What
Right,
you
like-
see with us is what you get.
But now I
You
get
know.
dressed in the morning when I know we're recording, and I'm like thinking about my clothes differently, and I don't want that to be the case. But the point is, whether it be your recipes or they're Northern Italian or they're this or they're that,
Everybody's a keyboard
everybody
warrior
is a warrior
when
Yeah.
they're behind that.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's easy to do.
And they don't
When-
realize
And
you
it's
have
a-
feelings.
It's an endemic.
They,
Yes,
and one thing is
because-
that for you jerks out there, but the jerks don't listen to us. We have the
No.
best. We have the best.
But you know what? The
listenership,
the trolls are sitting at their computer. They have no life. I believe that they go from site to site to site. It's like somebody coming in here, knocking everything over and leaving.
See, I think it's different. I think that maybe I don't know, right? But
That's
I
what
think
it feels like to me when they
It
come
does.
in. They drop a bomb and
Yeah.
then they
You know what I
leave.
do now? Like when I see them in the comments, especially the Italians from
Delete.
Italy. No, I invite them on the show. I would love to have you say that to me in my face.
Have you had an exception?
Nobody accepted. I said, come on. We'd love to have you sit down and tell us why we're stupid. You
Yeah,
can say
but-
it.
but
I'm
this-
all about the open
But
Right.
I think that I think that unfortunately, it's more than just people who happen to be negative and like that. They make that a kind of priority in their life. I think we as a species, those people in global society who have spent more and more time on a phone screen or a laptop, whatever, we've become less considerate of other people,
Empathetic.
and people simply let out that inner monologue of sort of nasty negativity.
Right. It's like keep it inside.
Yeah, it's
just
like keep it inside. Like, we've lost the idea of you don't
can
have anything
think what you
nice to
think.
say.
We don't duel anymore. That's a concept.
Right, we don't duel,
We
right.
like smack the guy in the
That's why you invite
we're gonna
them
make
on the
a
show.
that's right. It's a
Let's
duel.
have a duel.
Come
Yeah,
on, you
let's
want
have-
it? You want to say
Bring the
come on?
gloves.
Yeah.
We need duels. This is what we need. We need to bring in some duels. People
You
come
must.
on
You
the
love
show.
antiques. Do you have dueling pistols?
I can get them. I'm sure. I
Can we have like the fake ones from the 70s? And then bang comes
they call
out.
it bluster or something. Blusters or the.
And you need a line.
Yes.
Yeah, the
whole
line,
thing.
the gloves.
Yeah, we'll do the whole gloves.
I don't want to do sword fight. That's the way too.
That's too
You need a
much.
lot of cows. You
Yeah.
need weeks in the gym
That's
for that.
calisthenics.
I think
don't
that part of my life is
I'd
past.
rather take the shot on a musket ball from. Yeah, absolutely. Forget that. My chances with the hand-to-hand combat are slim to none.
You got butter knives.
We got
You
our
could have the
swords.
big spoons. You know when you
We
could
got
have
our
a big,
swords from the order. They're like fencing force, but
Yeah,
they're
but
made
they're
out of
like
plastic.
fake
Wooden
Yeah.
spoons. That's what you need.
That's what
Wooden
we need.
spoons.
Dueling with wooden spoons. My mother would have been the best dueler in the world with the wooden spoon. But the point of it all is there is a certain sensitivity that is required when you are putting yourself
public
out there
space.
in something like this show or
Right.
what you do on the blog and everything you've done from there. And if nothing else, it's an opportunity for us to say thank you and congratulations for doing that. Thank you for sharing of yourself and these intimate family traditions and recipes that you clearly love so much. And congratulations on the success that
Thank
you've
you.
built out of it, and to many, many more recipes. And hopefully, if the time is right between the two coasts, getting together and cooking some sanguinacci.
Sanguinacci party.
You would very much, I think, enjoy the
I think
the process
I would.
and the outcome.
There's only been one black pudding that I really was. It was, and I really. It was from England, the Bury Black Pudding Company. I've never tasted anything so vile. I just couldn't. It was terrible for my personal Scottish taste buds. I couldn't do it, and I was going to have my cousin's daughter-in-law. She lives in Scotland, but she's like, I've never tried black pudding. I said, oh, you've got to try it. I said, but let me try this one first because I've never tried it, because I don't want you to try it if it's not. And I hate to throw food away, as you can imagine. It went right in the bin.
Yeah.
That's
it was
bad.
it
That's
was
bad.
that bad.
That's-
I
yeah.
said, do not try that. You will not like it. If you try this one first, and I'm like McSween's, like Grant's in Scotland, the ones I'm like, you can try those. Those are really, really tasty. Those are good. A black pudding from a fish and chip shop, deep battered, deep fried.
Oh yeah.
I never had them.
Oh, that's so good.
You dip it in the fish batter,
Oh, it's
and then you
delicious,
deep
yeah.
fry it,
Oh,
and it's
wow.
like that, and it's crispy and.
Yeah. There's a place in Brooklyn that used to do those. That
Really?
Deep
off
fried
the
black
charts.
pudding?
Yeah, they closed. It was called the Chip Shop. It was fantastic. But needless to say,
It always
Sanguin-
comes back
I
to
love-
food.
I love-
no matter what, wherever
I
anybody
love
we
the
have on
cuisine
it,
of
it
the
all comes
British
back
Isles.
to food.
I am a big advocate. I'm a huge fan.
Well, you got to go on my site and make
I-
some of the recipes.
me trying to make. I will try my best. And I like to cook. I do like to cook.
If
Give
you
me
can
some-
make
you
that
should give me some more
timbalo, you
credit.
I can make the timbala.
Yeah,
that's true. But
yeah.
as much as I love British food, black pudding is to sanguinacci a less sophisticated younger cousin. Like
Right.
we improve everything, much
Yeah.
like your beans on
Yeah.
toast recipe. I'm sure is the
That's
number
the
one
most
in the world
critical
because
comment
you
you've
are
ever made.
Italian.
No, you know
for
why?
Sure.
Do you know why the beans on toast is on my site? Because I happened upon somebody in America telling their readers how to make beans on toast, and they gave a recipe on how to cook the beans, and I was horrified. I was like, "Whoa, wait! You're making the beans? Now you know me. Everything has to be homemade. It's better when it's homemade. Not when it comes to beans on toast. You have to open a can.
Yeah.
It is not beans on toast if it's not Heinz beans.
Yeah, fair enough.
I bet you there's real Scottish people, like genetically.
Right.
I bet you there's not one of them who's ever cooked a pot of beans in their life. Well, the same thing in Ireland.
No,
Never.
I mean-
if you put a gun to their head, they couldn't do it
But
to save their lives.
they've got
Yeah,
the cupboard, the
that's true.
pantry's
Yeah.
full of the blue can.
You know how- you know how-
that's why I did it, because
Yeah.
I was like, no, this is wrong.
It's amazing to think that we have Hunt's baked beans. We have tons of baked
Well,
beans
Heinz
companies.
beans came from America.
Yeah.
Did they really?
Yes.
But yeah,
You're
Heinz.
kidding me.
They were
Heinz
invented
57.
here.
And then what was this? During the war, they went back.
But that's how
Son of a
important of an
gun.
ingredient it is that blue can is now in our supermarkets along with the American versions. Like there's plenty of supermarkets
Okay.
where you find the British can.
Really?
I don't know if it's made different. Probably is, right?
well,
Because-
you'd have to see. It might be made in Canada. There's like
Could be.
HP sauce.
Yeah. Could be.
they do an HP sauce that's made in Canada that is vile.
Well, my brother swears that the baked bean. I guess they have a vegan version too. He's vegan, so it's no pork in it or whatever. But he swears.
No, I think Heinz Beans is vegan.
Maybe I don't know.
Think.
He would
I'm
know
pretty
this.
sure.
I
Yeah.
never look. But he swears that the British one, which in many of these supermarkets now you could buy next to the American one,
Is better.
It's like you talk about health food. My wife always with
Right.
the baby, she's obsessive. If you compare like a Pop-Tart case in America to a Pop-Tart from Britain, there's like
Oh.
7 ingredients in Britain
Absolutely.
and 700, and you
Absolutely.
can't recognize any of them here. So
Exactly.
it could just be the case that
Yeah.
They make Pop-Tarts in England?
yeah. I never had them, but they do. Yeah, they make.
No,
them.
but a lot of stuff that they have when it's made over there, a lot of the chemicals and things are not allowed there.
Yeah.
So you get a more pure.
It's like Nutella.
Well, there was a... Yeah,
We
there
were
was
just
a,
in Italy.
yeah.
Everybody's smuggling Nutella. I mean, I'm not a big Nutella guy, but my wife, my
New
sister-in-law,
Jersey, you
they
can
were
get
all-
the Italian Nutella.
You can get the Italian
With the glass,
Nutella,
the
yeah.
reusable
Right,
glass,
right.
yeah, you could
But
get...
the ingredients are different here.
Yeah.
So it doesn't say much about
The palm
what-
oil is
yeah.
like in everything, but
Yeah.
that's happening in other countries
in everything.
too.
In everything. It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
quality of ingredients around the world is just
It's
exponentially less than ever.
Right.
But the good news is you're out there championing good ingredients, good family recipes, and
very
really a
easy,
good
step by
time.
step
Yeah.
instructions, lots of photos so you can see every step of the way. And I'm taking them. There's no stock photos happening. So that's why I want to encourage people to get in the kitchen and cook. And so I'm making it so that it's easy. I sat next to a lady on the plane last night and I said, "Do you like to cook?" She's like, "I cook to feed my daughter, but I don't really enjoy it." And I was like, "Okay, go on my site, please.
Yeah.
Like, pick a pasta that's ready." I had like 6 pastas that I just picked that it's ready by the time the pasta's done cooking. Mm-hmm. You know, like
Well, our
spaghetti.
fast food is good fast food.
Yeah,
That's right.
It is fast food.
Aioli is the greatest.
Yeah.
Brendan was in the seminary for a whole year in Sicily because he had aioli every Thursday. He stayed in the seminary. He was in the
Supposed to
Sicilian
be
seminary.
gnocchi on Thursday.
Is that right?
Oh yeah.
Argentina's big on that, but in Sicily, Thursday night was a spaghettata.
Okay.
That had to be the best.
He talks about that
spaghettata all
still.
the time.
It's like, yeah, he's looking at us.
I would
through
put
the
our
window.
tunica on and go in
He
just
can
as
hear
a
you out there.
spaghettata.
He's
Can you hear that?
staring at us.
I said, "How good was it? We're gonna go to the seminary." And we're gonna
I'm hungry now. So we probably should eat. This is a good opportunity for us to get the forks and knives out and go have a little something. Thank you for coming out here.
Oh,
you are
it was a pleasure.
Please come back.
We could speak for hours, I'm sure.
come on back
that's the
anytime.
great thing about this podcast.
Yeah.
We could go on forever. Because we're the same tribe.
Right.
The beauty is the tribe.
That's the beauty of the tribe. Christina's Cucina. It is.
I'm on Instagram, Facebook. My website's just been redone, and you can search by ingredient, by cuisine, by course. It's all.
You can do a cookbook at some point.
I don't have time. A lot of people like write.
Yeah.
Do you have a cookbook? Are you going to write a cookbook?
Yeah.
I would love to do it, just not for
But
anything
you would have to
else.
self
To shut everybody up.
Because you could. Like,
Is
we
that
have a
what-
lot of people that come on that have publishers. The publisher's going to be like, take out this and add that.
No,
or-
I would do it. It would be my
But I'm
way
saying,
or the
so
highway.
you got to
Rosello always
self-publish
says, yeah, it's
because if
hard.
you
I
once you
probably
start
would.
once
Well,
they
there's-
start getting
there's-
involved in
there's
your
someone
business.
that one of my readers wrote to me really quickly, messaged me on Instagram and said, "If you do anything about this, do not use my name. There's this woman that I have suspected for a long time that she is copying people's recipes, but now I know for a fact that she is because she copied yours,
Wow.
including your typo."
Wow.
Wow,
That's
that
powerful.
is the
Damning evidence.
Yeah, that's
Dun, dun, dun,
that's
dun. You should put a typo in
yeah.
everything.
She just got. I haven't followed up, but I just went. I was on the phone on the plane. I'm always deleting pictures, right? And I have all the screenshots of all the recipes that she didn't even go to the third page of Google to steal these recipes. She takes her own pictures,
Yeah.
but she steals. And even the one that she took from me, she put some BS about her family coming over, and this was the recipe. The typo in there was.
Was she
like-
Italian?
No, she's not
Oh,
Italian.
that's good. At least it
but-
wasn't our own. At least it wasn't from our own kind.
No, but
As I
she's huge.
suspected
She's
it
got.
would've
I think
been.
she's got over 1 million followers now, and she just got a cookbook deal with a top publishing company. And I'm like, I have gone to other like big food bloggers that she's taken stuff from to say, hey, do you realize that
Denounce her. You should have
Yeah,
denounced
we got to break this scandal. This is
You
a
gotta
documentary in
denounce
the
it.
making here.
is it, I mean, it's again with the gut punch.
Yeah.
When I saw that, and then I got sucked into the rabbit hole because like
Yeah.
how they say
unjust.
you're better than the FBI or the CIA when you're invested in there. And I was like, I found every single, I mean, there's so many, and I can share the name once we're off the air.
Let's get off the air, ladies and gentlemen. I want to hear about this. I think this is a breaking story that we might be able to break here from the Italian American podcast. So again, thank you for coming. I hope
Thank you
everybody
very
out
much.
there
It's a tremendous honor.
goes on the
both of you.
site, goes on social media, and encourages you to get that cookbook done and come back anytime. And we would love to
Thank
have
you so
Really,
much.
It's been a great pleasure. So from Scotland, from San Donato and Lazio and all these different places,
Cervaro.
Christina's Cucina is a wonderful byproduct of all of these meldings of cultures. We hope you guys have enjoyed. We encourage you to Google Christina and all of her work and become familiar and become a follower and a fan. So thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
See that you're born in an Italian. If you want your life to be great. See that you're born in Italiano and your life will be great. See that you're born in Italiano